Question number 1. According to the line graph above, between which two consecutive years was there the greatest change in the number of 3D movies released? To answer this question, let's first look at the answer choices. A is 2003 to 2004, B is 2008 to 2009, C is 2009 to 2010, and D is 2010 to 2011. We can cross off A because there is no change in the number of 3D movies released by year from 2003 to 2004. Three answer choices left are B, C, and D, for which we have to calculate the percent change. The formula for a percent change is new minus old over old. So for B, 2008 to 2009, it would be 20 minus 8 over 8, because there were 20 movies released in 2009 and 8 released in 2008. So this would be 12 over 8, which simplifies to 3 over 2. This is a 150% increase compared to 2008, because 3 over 2 is 1.5. C, 2009 to 2010, so there were 26 movies released in 2010 and 20 released in 2009, so it would be 26 minus 20 over 20, so it would be 6 over 20, which equals to 3/10, so that would be a 30% increase compared to the previous year. For D, 2010 to 2011, there were 46 movies released in 2011 and 26 in 2010. So it would be 46 minus 26 over 26. This is 20 over 26, which would simplify to 10 over 13, which is less than 150% increase, but greater than 30%. So our answer would be answer choice B. Question number 2. Some values of the linear function f are shown in the table above. Which of the following defines f? Linear function means that it's a straight line, so the formula y equals mx plus b applies. So what we have to do for this question is we already have 3 y values and 3 x values, so what we have to do is find the m value. So we can plug in the y and x values and find b to complete the equation. So the formula for the slope, which is m, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we can pick any of these, 2 of any of these 3 data points to find the slope. I'll pick the first 2 because those are the easiest to solve for. So y2 would be 13, so 13 minus 5 over 3 minus 1. And this solves to be 8 over 2, which is 4. So m equals 4. Now that we have the slope, we can plug in values for y and x to find b. I'll choose the first 2 data points because they're the smallest numbers and therefore the easiest to solve for. So the y value is 5 equals m is 4, so x is 1 plus b. 5 equals 4 times 1 plus b, which is 5 equals 4 plus b. And you subtract 4 from both sides to get b equals 1. So the only equation that fits the criteria of m being 4 and b being 1 is answer choice C, so that's our answer. Question number 3. To make a bakery's signature chocolate muffins, a baker needs 2.5 ounces of chocolate for each muffin. How many pounds of chocolate are needed to make 48 signature chocolate muffins? It says that 2.5 ounces of chocolate are needed for each muffin, and how many are needed for 48. So to get the total number of ounces needed to make 48 muffins, you need to multiply 48 by 2.5, which is 120 ounces. And it says how many pounds of chocolate, but the answer is the value is currently in ounces. So in order to, and it also says that 1 pound equals 16 ounces. So to convert 120 ounces to pounds, we would need to divide 120 by 16, which would give us 7.5, which is answer choice A. Question number 4. If 3 times c plus d equals 5, what is the value of c plus d? So what we need to do is isolate c plus d on one side in order to get the value of c plus d. And the only operation we need to do for this is divide both sides by 3, which would result in c plus d on one side. So divide 3 by both sides, and you get c plus d equals 5 over 3, which is answer choice B. Question number 5. The weight of an object on Venus is approximately 9/10 its weight on Earth. The weight of an object on Jupiter is approximately 23 over 10 of its weight on Earth. If an object weighs 100 pounds on Earth, approximately how many more pounds does it weigh on Jupiter than it weighs on Venus? Key phrase here is how many more pounds. This does not mean that we find how many pounds the object weighs on Jupiter or Venus. We need to find the number. The number of pounds it weighs on Jupiter minus the number of pounds it weighs on Venus. So, get the number of pounds it weighs on Venus or Jupiter. What we have to do is multiply 100 by either 9/10 or 23 over 10. So if we do that, we get 9 over 10 times 100, which results in 10 canceling out and the 100 becoming 10. And this becomes 90 pounds on Venus. And to find how many pounds it weighs on Jupiter, we need to multiply 23 over 10 by 100. The 10 cancels out again and it becomes 230. This is for Jupiter. And as I said before, approximately how many more pounds does it weigh? So we have to subtract 230 minus 90, which gives us 140. It's choice C. Question number 6. An online bookstore sells novels and magazines. Each novel sells for $4 and each magazine sells for $1. If Sadie purchased a total of 11 novels and magazines that have a combined selling price of $20, how many novels did she purchase? This is a problem that requires systems of equations, and we need to create two equations based on the information in the question. Each novel sells for $4 and each magazine sells for $1. So let's say N for novels and M for magazines. $4 for each novel is 4N, N being the number of novels, plus $1 for each magazine, which would just be M for magazines, which equals, she spent a total of $20 on it, so which equals 20. And it says that she purchased 11 novels in total, so N plus M equals 11, since N is the number of novels and M is the number of magazines, and if you add them together, you should get the total. Now, to solve this, we need to cancel out one of the variables here. So I'm going to choose to try to cancel out the M in both equations, because it's going to be very simple compared to multiplying the bottom equation by -4. So in order to cancel out the m's here, we need to make one of them negative, so that m minus m equals 0. I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by -1. And so if you solve this, it would be 4n minus n, which would be 3n, m minus m, which would be 0, equals 20 minus 11, which is 9. So this would be 3n equals 9, and the number of novels is 3 because 9 divided by 3 is 3. And that's the answer to the question, because it asks how many novels did she purchase. So answer choice B. Question number 7. The Downtown Business Association in a certain city plans to increase its membership by a total of n businesses per year. There will be businesses in the DBA at the beginning of this year. Which function best models the total number of businesses y the DBA plans to have as members x years from now on? So answer choice C and D for this problem would be wrong, because both of these are exponential functions. But in the question, it states that its membership, the city plans to increase its membership by a total of n businesses per year. This indicates that it's a linear increase, not an exponential one. So C and D would be wrong. Both A and B are linear functions, so they could both possibly be right, but B is incorrect because it's subtracting B from n times x. N times x is the number of businesses the city, the number of members the city gets in x amount of years. So it should not be subtracting B from n times x, because B is the number of existing members. So answer choice A would be correct. Question number 8. Which of the following is an equivalent form of 1.5x minus 2.4 squared minus 5.2x squared minus 6.4? What we have to do is combine the expression in the first parentheses with the expression in the second parentheses. To do this, we first have to distribute the squared right here, or apply the squared on the 1.5x minus 2.4. So to do that, we would do 1.5x minus 2.4 times 1.5x minus 2.4. To solve this, we simply FOIL, do 1.5x times 1.5x time plus 1.5x minus 2.4 plus negative 2.4 times 1.5x plus negative 2.4 times negative 2.4. Now we simply solve, and when we do 1.5x times 1.5x, we get 2.25x plus 1.5x times negative 2.4, which is negative 3.6x, and negative 2.4 times 1.5x would be the same, which is negative 3.6x, and negative 2.4 times negative 2.4 is 5.76. And there's two equivalent terms right here, so we can combine them. 1.5x times 1.5x would be 2.25x squared, and negative 2.x, when we combine those two, we get negative 7.2x and plus 5.76. Now that we have the final equation, we can combine it with the negative 5.2x squared minus 6.4, and you can just add that on here, 5.2x squared minus 6.4. So first we have to distribute the negative to the 5.2x squared and the negative 6.4. And when we do that, we get negative 5.2x squared plus 6.4. Now we can combine the like terms, which are negative 5.2x squared and 2.25x squared, and 5.76 and 6.4. So 2.25 x squared minus 5.2 x squared is negative 2.95 x squared, and then negative 7.2x, and we can do 5.76 plus 6.4 to get 12.16. This is our final answer, and this corresponds with answer choice C. Question number 9. In the 1908 Olympic Games, the Olympic marathon was lengthened from 40 kilometers to approximately 42 kilometers. Of the following, which is the closest to the increase in the distance of the Olympic marathon in miles? 1 mile is approximately 1.6 kilometers. So it's asking for the increase in distance in miles, but we're given 40 kilometers and 42 kilometers. So we have to convert. We can either convert the 40 kilometers and 42 kilometers into miles and then find the difference that way, or we can find the difference between the 40 kilometers and 42 kilometers and then convert the resultant into miles. The easier option would be finding the difference between 40 and 42 kilometers and then converting that to miles. So 42 minus 40, which is 2. So it was a 2 kilometer increase in the distance. And 2 kilometers, there's approximately 1 mile in 1.6 kilometers. So we would divide 2 by 1.6 in order to get the number of miles. 2 divided by 1.6 is 1.25. So there's approximately 1.25 miles. There was approximately a 1.25 mile increase. Question number 10. The density d of an object is found by dividing the mass m of the object by its volume v. Which of the following equations gives a mass m in terms of d and v? Our first step is to write an equation of what the question is telling us, which is the density d of an object is found by dividing the mass m of the object by its volume v. This is our initial equation, and it's asking which of the following equations gives the mass m in terms of d and v. So what we have to do is solve for m, which means isolating m on one side and moving all the other variables to the other. To do this, what we have to do is multiply both sides by v. So the v on the v's on the right side are canceled out, and the left side becomes v times d. This would make the equation m equals dv, which would correspond with answer choice A. Question number 11. In the xy plane, the graph of which of the following equations is perpendicular to the graph of the equation above? Equation above is negative 2x plus 3y equals 6. Two equations are perpendicular if their slopes are the negative reciprocal of each other. All these equations here are given in standard form, so we can find the slope of each of these equations by doing negative a over b, with negative 2 corresponding with a, 3 corresponding with b, which is the same for all the equations in the answer choices. The slope of the equation given at the top is 2 over 3, and so for any of these equations to be perpendicular to the equation on top, their slopes have to be negative 3 over 2. So let's start with answer choice A, negative a over b, which would give it a slope of negative 3 over 2. And this would make it our answer choice, but for good measure, let's just check all the rest of the answer choices. The slope of the answer choice B is negative 3 over 4. C is negative 2 over 4, which equals negative 1 over 2. The slope of the equation at answer choice D is negative 2 over 6, which equals negative 1 over 3. And we confirm that the answer choice A is correct. Question number 12. The system of equations above has solution xy. What is the value of x? First step for this problem is to multiply both sides of the first equation by 2 so that we cancel out the 1/2. And when we do that, we get y equals 8. Now we can plug in 8 for the y in the second equation to get the value of x. So x minus 1/2 times 8 equals 2. And x minus 1/2 times 8 is 4 equals 2. And add 4 to both sides to isolate x, and we get x equals 6. This is answer choice D. Question number 13. Which of the following ordered pairs xy satisfies the system of inequalities above? Y is less than or equal to 3x plus 1, and x minus y is greater than 1. To solve this, we need to plug in each of the answer choices given into both equations and see if they work. Whichever one works for both of them is the answer. Let's plug in -2, -1. So -1 for y is less than or equal to 3 times x, which is -2 plus 1. So -1 is less than or equal to 3 times -2, which is -6 plus 1. -1 is less than or equal to -6 plus 1, which is -5. And -1 is not less than or equal to -5, so answer choice A is incorrect. B, which is -1 and 3. So 3 is less than or equal to 3 times x, which is -1 plus 1. 3 is less than or equal to 3 times -1, which is -3 plus 1. 3 is less than or equal to -3 plus 1, which is -2. Answer choice C. 1 is less than or equal to 3 times 5 plus 1. 1 is less than or equal to 3 times 5, which is 15 plus 1. 1 is less than or equal to 15 plus 1, which is 16. And this is not true, so answer choice C is also incorrect. D. -1 is less than or equal to 3 times 2 plus 1. And -1 is less than or equal to 3 times 2 plus 1, which is 6 plus 1. And -1 is less than or equal to 7. And -1 is less than or equal to 7, but we also need to check for the other equation in case that may be incorrect. So x is 2, so 2 minus -1 is greater than 1. And the negatives cancel out, so it would be 2 plus 1 is greater than 1. And 3 is greater than 1, so answer choice D would be correct. Question number 14. In a survey of 607 general surgeons and orthopedic surgeons indicated their major professional activity. The results are summarized in the table above. If one of the surgeons is selected at random, which of the following is closest to the probability that the selected surgeon is an orthopedic surgeon whose indicated professional activity is research? So there's two conditions here. One, that the professional is a orthopedic surgeon, and other is his professional activity is research. So we're restricted to the column right here for orthopedic surgeons and right here for research. So we have to look at the 230, and so which is the probability that the selected surgeon is an orthopedic surgeon whose indicated professional activity is research. So 230 is our probability that the surgeon selected is an orthopedic surgeon and his activity is research. So to get the answer, we would do 230 divided by 607. Divided by 607, which would give us 0.378. This corresponds to answer choice D. Question number 15. A polling agency recently surveyed 1,000 adults who were selected at random from a large city and asked each of the adults, Are you satisfied with the quality of the air in the city? Of those surveyed, 78% responded that they were satisfied with the quality of air in the city. Based on the results of the survey, which of the following statements must be true? 1. Of all adults in the city, 78% are satisfied with the quality of air in the city. In another 1,000 adults selected at random from the city were surveyed, 78% of them would report they are satisfied with the quality of the air in the city. Number 3, if 1,000 adults selected at random from a different city were surveyed, 78% of them would report they are satisfied with the quality of air in the city. So let's take a look at statement number 1. It says of all the adults in the city, 78% are satisfied with the quality of air in the city. This is not necessarily true, because just because 1,000 adults that were randomly sampled, of those 70% responded that they were satisfied, does not mean all the adults in the city are satisfied. The percentage may be close, but it won't be the exact same. So 1 cannot be right, so that crosses off C and D from the list, from the answer choices. Number 2, if another 1,000 adults were selected at random from the city were surveyed, 70% of them would report they're satisfied with the quality of the air in the city. This also isn't true, because samples, the results from samples can vary, and even if the percentage may be close to 70%, it won't be 78% most of the time. So 2 also can't be right, which crosses off answer choice B. Number 3, which is if 1,000 adults selected at random from a different city were surveyed, 78% of them would report they're satisfied with the quality of air in the city. This would be wrong for the same reason as number 2, but this would also be wrong for another reason, which is they were selected from a different city. So it give completely different results and may not necessarily match up with the results of the original study. So 3 would also be wrong, which and we're left with A, none of the above. Question number 16. One method of calculating the approximate age in years of a tree of a particular species is to multiply the diameter of the tree in inches by a constant called the growth factor for that species. The table above gives the growth factor for 8 species of trees. Question number 16 says, according to the information in the table, what is the approximate age of an American elm tree with a diameter of 12 inches? Up in the information, it says you need to multiply the diameter of the tree in inches by a constant called the growth factor for that species. The species here is American elm, which has a growth factor of 4.0. So we need to multiply 4.0 by the diameter, which is 12 inches. So 4 times 12, which is 48. So it's 48 years old, which is answer choice D. Question number 17. The scatter plot above gives a tree diameter plotted against the age for 26 trees of a single species. The growth factor of this species is closest to that of which of the following species of tree? To solve this, we need to find the growth factor of the species depicted in the scatter plot. So we can do this by selecting a point here and finding the approximate growth factor for that. So let's find that point right there would have a diameter of 15 inches and an age of around 108 years. So to find the age, you need to multiply the growth factor by the tree diameter. So we have the tree diameter here of 15 inches times the growth factor, G, equals 108. So it'd be G equals 108 over 15. And if we put that into the calculator, we get 7.2. So growth factor is approximately 7.2 for the species in the graph. And this is closest to the shagbark hickory, and this is in fact our answer choice, which is D. Question number 18. If a white birch tree and a pin oak tree each now have a diameter of 1 foot, which of the following will be the closest to the difference in inches of their diameters in 10 years from now? Let's first take a look at the growth factor of the white birch tree and the pin oak tree. The growth factor of the white birch tree is 5.0 and the growth factor of the pin oak tree is 3.0. So we can, they both have a diameter of 1 foot, which is 12 inches. So we can do 5 times 12 to find the age of the white birch tree, which is 60 years old, and 3 times 12 to find the age of the pin oak tree, which is 36 years old. Now it's asking for the difference in their diameters 10 years from now. So we need to add 10 to each of their ages. The white birch tree would be 70 and the pin oak tree would be 46. The diameters would change in 10 years, but the growth factor would be the same. So the diameter would become variable d, and the growth factor would be 5 and 3, since they wouldn't change. And now we need to solve for a d for both of these trees. D for the white birch tree is 14, and the diameter for the pin oak tree is 46 divided by 3. Which is 15.33. Now what we need to do is find the difference in their diameters. So 15.33 minus 14, which is 1.33. This is closest to answer choice C, which is 1.3. Question number 19. In triangle ABC above, what is the length of AD? We're looking for the length right here, and to solve this, we need to find the length of BD so that we have another value to help us solve for AD. To do this, we can look at the right half of the triangle, which has a 60-degree angle and 90-degree angle, which add up to 150. So the other angle has to be 30 degrees. It's a 30, 60, 90 triangle, which means that across from the 30 is x, across from the 60 is x times root 3, and across from the 90 degrees is 2x. So since this is 2x, the across from the 30 would be 6. And across from the 60 would be x times root 3, which is 6 root 3. Triangle on the left is also a 30, 60, 90 because 90 is in the middle because of the line that bisects the triangle, and 60 over here. So the 30 is x and the 60 is x root 3. So what we need to do is divide 6 root 3 by root 3 to find x. And we get 6. So across from the 30 is x, so AD is 6. Question number 20. The figure on the left above shows a wheel with a mark on its rim. The wheel is rolling on the ground at a constant rate along a level straight path from a starting point to an ending point. The graph of y equals dt on the right could represent which of the following as a function of time from when the wheel began to roll. To solve this problem, let's do elimination. The speed at which the wheel is rolling. It says the wheel is rolling on the ground at a constant rate, which means that its speed isn't changing. So it should be a flat line if its speed isn't changing. So A is incorrect. The distance of the wheel from its starting point. The distance of the wheel from its starting point increases linearly because it doesn't fluctuate. It should go like that if answer choice B were to be right. So B is incorrect. The distance of the mark on the rim from the center of the wheel. The mark is right here, and the center is right here. The mark goes around like that, and the center, it stays in the center, it does not move. So the distance of it is always going to be x right there. So it should be a flat line, so this doesn't work. So C is incorrect. D is the distance of the mark on the rim from the ground. Okay, right here in the picture, the distance of the mark from the ground, let's say that's x and x, so 2x. Now, when it rolls forward a bit, the mark is going to be right there. This is in line with the center, so that should be x. So it gets halved, and then at another point, the mark is going to be all the way at the bottom, and the distance is going to be 0, which corresponds with that spot right there. And the cycle repeats, and that shows the graph, so answer choice D is correct. Question number 21. In the equation above, if A is negative and B is positive, which of the following must be true? To answer this question, let's plug in numbers for A and B, which fit with A is negative and B is positive. Let's say A is equal to -1 and B is equal to 1. So the equation would become -1 minus 1 over -1 equal to C. So if we do this, we get -2 over -1 equals C, and 2 is equal to C. We can see here that C is a positive, and this would be true for all values of A and B, which fit with A is negative and B is positive, because if A is negative and B is positive, a negative number minus a positive number would be a negative number over a negative number. So two negative numbers dividing each other would result in a positive number. So C would always have to be positive. So let's look at the answer choices and see what we can cross out based on the fact that C is always positive. C is incorrect because C cannot equal a negative number. D is incorrect because, again, C cannot be a negative number. And between A and B, which of the following must be true? C does not have to be equal to 1. It can be equal to any other positive number. So the correct answer here would be A, which is C is greater than 1. Question number 22. In state X, Mr. Camp's 8th grade class consisting of 26 students was surveyed, and 34.6% of the students reported that they had at least 2 siblings. The average 8th grade class size in the state is 26. If the students in Mr. Camp's class are representative of the students in the state's 8th grade classes, and there are 1,800 8th grade classes in the state, which of the following best estimates the number of 8th grade students in the state who have fewer than 2 siblings? Okay, so questions asking for the number of 8th grade students in the state who have fewer than 2 siblings. And in Mr. Camp's 8th grade class, 34.6% of the students reported they had at least 2 siblings. That means that 100 minus 34.6% had fewer than 2 siblings. So when we subtract 34.6 from 100, we get 65.4. So 65.4% of students in his class had less than 2 siblings. And it also says that it's representative of the students in the state's 8th grade classes. So you can say that 65.4% of all students in 8th grade in the state have fewer than two siblings. And it says that 1,800 8th grade classes in the state, but it's asking for the number of students. So we have to multiply 1,800 by 26, since that's the average number of students in 8th grade classes. So 1,800 times 26, that's 46,800. Now 65.4% of these 46,800 students have fewer than 2 siblings. So what we need to do is multiply 46,800 by 0.654. And that will give us the number of students who have less than 2 siblings. And when we do that, we get 30,607.2. And that's answer C. Question number 23. To answer this question, we first have to look at the information given to us, which says the Townsend Realty Group invested in the 5 different properties listed in the table above. The table shows the amount in dollars the company paid for each property and the corresponding monthly rental price in dollars the company charges for the property at each of the 5 locations. The question says the relationship between the monthly rental price R in dollars and the property's purchase price P in thousands of dollars can be represented by a linear function. Which of the following functions represents the relationship? Now, the word that's underlined here is thousands of dollars. It says property's purchase price P in thousands of dollars. This means that whatever value we plug into P is actually, it has to be multiplied by 1,000 to get the actual price. So let's take the purchase price for Clearwater Lane. If we want to plug in 128,000 into P, that wouldn't work because it says the purchase price P in thousands of dollars. If we plugged in 128,000 into P in the equation, that would be implying that there's 128,000, that the price would be 128,000 times 1,000. So when we plug in any of the purchase prices here into the equation, we have to divide them by 1,000 first and then plug them in. Let's, to solve the equation, let's plug in the purchase price and rental price for Clearwater Lane into each of the equations below. The rent is $950 and 2.5 times, can't plug in 128,000, we have to divide it by 1,000 first, so it would become 128 minus 870. Let's first plug in all the values first and then put it into the calculator at the end. So for the second equation, it would be 950 equals 5 times 128 plus 165. As choice C, it would be 950 equals 6.5 times 128 plus 440. 950 equals 7.5 times 128 plus minus 10. Okay, now we can plug them into the calculator and see which one matches up. 0.5 times 128 minus 870, that's negative $550, which does not equal 950, so answer choice A is wrong. 5 times 128 plus 165, that's 805, that's still not equal to 950, so answer choice B is wrong. 6.5 times 128 plus 440 says 1,272, says not equal to 950, so this is also wrong. And 7.5 times 128 minus 10 is equal to 950, which is also equal to 950, so answer choice D is correct. Question number 24. Townsend Realty purchased the Glenview Street property and received a 40% discount off the original price, along with an additional 20% off the discounted price for purchasing the property in cash. Which of the following best approximates the original price in dollars of the Glenview Street property? An easy way to do this would just be to test each of these answer choices and see which of them matches the 140,000 right here. So to do this, let's say X is equal to the original price, and any of these answer choices could be the original price. So we have to do, to get the formula to get the discounted price would be X times 0.6. The 0.6 came from the 40% discount off the original. If 40% was taken off, you would be left with 60%, which is 0.6. And then outside of that would be 0.8 because 20% was taken off the discounted price. And then this has to equal 140,000, which is the discounted price right there. So we can plug in the answer choices to get into X to see which one becomes 140,000. So 350, I'm going to plug in the 350,000 for answer choice A. 350,000 times 0.6 times 0.8. This becomes 168,000, which does not equal to 140,000, so answer choice A is wrong. 291,700 times 0.6 times 0.8 is 140,016. This is really close to our expected answer. So this could be our correct answer, but let's check the other answers just to make sure. So 233,300 times 0.6 times 0.8 is 111,984, which does not equal to 140,000. When we plug in 175,000, so 175,000 times 0.6 times 0.8 is 84,000. This also does not match up with the discounted price, so answer choice B is our answer. Question number 25. A psychologist set up an experiment to study the tendency of a person to select the first item when presented with a series of items. In the experiment, 300 people were presented with a set of 5 pictures arranged in random order. Each person was asked to choose the most appealing one. Of the first 150 participants, 36 chose the first picture in the set. Among the remaining 150 participants, P people chose the first picture in the set. If more than 20% of all participants chose the first picture in the set, which of the following inequalities best describes the possible values of P? So in the question, it gives us a set of conditions. The first of which is, of the first 150 participants, 36 chose the first picture. And then the second one is, among the remaining 150 participants, P people chose the first picture. And the third one is, if more than 20% of all participants, the key here is of all participants chose the first picture in the set, which of the following inequalities best describes the possible values of P? So here, let's, the condition right here that I boxed are the same for all 4 answer choices, so we can eliminate that. So let's take a look at the condition if more than 20% of all participants chose the first picture in the set. So right here we have 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, indicating the 20%. And the difference here is the 300 minus 36 and 300 plus 36 and the 300, 300. A and B are wrong because in the question it says if more than 20% of all participants. There are a total of 300 participants. That's all participants. But A and B, they're subtracting 36 and adding 36 to 300. That is not all participants. So A and B are incorrect. C and D are both 300, which follows the if more than 20% of all participants. So both of them could be possible. So let's take a look at another condition. Of the first 150 participants, 36 chose the first picture in the set. 36 chose the first picture in the set. And then, P is the people who chose the first picture in the set. There were among the people who didn't initially choose the first picture in the set, which were 36. So what we have to do is add 36. Because 36 people already chose the first picture in the set, and then another P amount of people chose the first picture in the set. Together, they add up to be 20% of all people who chose the first picture in the set, which is why D is the correct answer. Question number 26. The The surface area of a cube is 6 times a over 4 squared, where a is a positive constant. Which of the following gives a perimeter of one face of the cube? To solve this problem, you don't need to know the formula for the surface area of a cube. You can reason through this problem. So a cube has 6 sides, which is where this number 6 comes from. The a over 4 squared is the area of one face of the cube. Surface area is the area of all the faces of an object added together. So if you find a cube, a cube is the same all around, so you can multiply it by the number of faces, which is 6, to get the total surface area. So a over 4 squared is the area of one face of the cube, and the area of a cube is length times width, but this can also be just either length squared or width squared, since the length and width of a cube are the same. So this a over 4 right here is the length of one side of a square. And when you square this, you get the area of one face of the cube. And since there's 6 faces in a cube, you have to multiply this by 6 to get the surface area of the cube. The point of this is that a over 4 is equal to the length of one side of a cube. So to find the perimeter of one cube, it's adding up all the sides of a cube, and there's 4 sides to a cube, so 4 times a over 4 gives us our area, our perimeter. The 4's cancel out, and the perimeter becomes a, which is answer choice B. Question number 27. The mean score of 8 players in a basketball game was 14.5 points. If the highest individual score is removed, the mean score of the remaining 7 players becomes 12 points. What was the highest score? To calculate the average, you need to sum up all the values and divide by the number of values. So to get, we can get the sum based on the 8 and 14.5 by multiplying 8 times 14.5, because the average equals sum over the number of values. So we can multiply by n on both sides to get the sum equals to n times average. The n here is 8 and the average is 14.5. So the sum becomes 8 times 14.5, which is 116. We also need to find it for the 7 players and 12 points to answer the problem. So it would be 7 times 12, which is 84. Now, if the highest individual score is removed, the mean score would be mean score of the remaining 7 would be 12 points. This is the total of the total score that the 7 players scored. This is what all 8 players scored. The difference is that between these two is that one of the players was removed. The difference between these would give us the score that of the player that was removed. So 116 minus 84, which is 32, which is the highest score, or the player that was removed, which is answer choice C. Question number 28. Graph of the linear function f is shown in the xy plane above. Slope of the graph of the linear function g is 4 times the slope of the graph of f. The graph of g passes through the point 0, negative 4. What is the value of g of 9? To solve this, we first need to find the slope of the graph of f of x, because we can't find the slope of g of x without it, since it says that the slope of the graph of the linear function g is 4 times the slope of the graph of the linear function f. Slope is rise over run. Here, the rise is 1, and the run is 2, so m equals 1 over 2 for the graph of f(x). It says it's 4 times the slope of the graph of f for g of x, so g of x is equal to 4 times 1 over 2, which is 2x plus the slope. Slope is where the graph intersects the y-axis. Point 0, negative 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. This is where the graph of g of x intersects the y-axis, so that's the y-intercept right there. So it would be 2x minus 4. And the question asks for what is the value of g of 9. So we have to plug in 9 for x. So 2 times 9 minus 4. 2 times 9 is 18 minus 4. 18 minus 4 is 14. The answer is C. Question number 29. The equation above defines a circle in the xy plane. What are the coordinates of the center of the circle? So I've written down the equation of a circle right here, which is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. The equation above is not in the form below, so we can't find the coordinates of the center of the circle directly. We have to first complete the square. So there's two parts right here, x squared plus 20x and y squared plus 16y. We have to complete the square for both of these in order to get the equation in the form x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So to complete the square, we have to do x squared plus 20x, and then the third value is 20 divided by 2 squared. 20 divided by 2 is 10, squared is 100, plus y squared plus 16y. We do the same thing here. 16 divided by 2 is 8, squared is 64, equals, and we have to add to the other side the 164. So 164 minus 20. Now that we have these two equations underlined here, we have to put them into the form x minus h squared. We need to factor. So x squared plus y squared equals 164 minus 20 is 144. So 10 times 10 equals 100, and 10 plus 10 equals 20, so this would become x plus 10. 8 times 8 equals 64, and 8 plus 8 equals 16, so it would become y plus 16. That would be our equation of the circle. Now, h and k right here are the points of the center of the circle. 10 and 16 correspond to h and k. But notice right here that there's a minus before both the h and k. What this means is we have to flip the sign before the 10 and messed up right here. So it's supposed to be y plus 8 right here, because 8 times 8 equals 64, and 8 plus 8 equals 16. So it's y plus 8 squared. So the 10 and 8 correspond to h and k, and we have to flip the sign for them because there's a minus right in front of the h and minus right in front of the k. So h equals negative of 10 and y equals negative of 8. So k equals negative of 8. H equals negative 10 and k equals 8. So these are our points for the center of the circle, and this corresponds to answer choice B. Question number 30. In the equation above, a is a positive constant, and the graph of the equation in the xy plane is a parabola. Which of the following is an equivalent form of the equation? What we have to do is look at the answer choices and expand. So we have to do this for all the answer choices and check which of these expressions after the y is equal to x squared minus a. So let's start with A, answer choice A. This would go x times negative a times x, and a times negative a. So this would expand to be x squared minus ax plus ax minus a squared. The negative ax and positive ax cancel out. This becomes x squared minus a squared. This is not equal to x squared minus a, so answer choice A is wrong. This is also the expanding, so x times negative root a times x, root a times negative root a. So this would become x squared minus x times negative root a, which is x negative x root a, and root a times x, which is positive x root a, and root a times negative root a. So that will become negative root a squared. So x squared, the negative x root a and positive x root a would cancel out. We will be left with x squared minus root a squared. The root a squared, the square root and the square cancel out because they're inverses. This would become x squared minus a. And x squared minus a is equal to the equation above, so B is our correct answer. Question number 31. Horsepower and watts are units of measure of power. They're directly proportional, such that 5 horsepower is equal to 3,730 watts. How much power in watts is equal to 2 horsepower? To solve this problem, we have to set up a proportion. 5 horsepower over 3,730 watts is equal to 2 horsepower over x watts. We don't know that yet. We have to solve for x. So we cross multiply to get 5x is equal to 2 times 3,730. 5x is equal to, we plug in 2 times 3,730. We get 7,460. And we divide by 5 on both sides to get x is equal to 1,492. This is our final answer. Question number 32. The painting The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh is in rectangular shape with height 29 inches and width 36.25 inches. If a reproduction was made where each dimension is 1/3 the corresponding original dimension, what is the height of the reproduction in inches? We already have the dimensions in inches, so we don't need to worry about converting. And it says each dimension is 1/3 the corresponding original dimension. What it's asking for is the height of the reproduction. So we don't need to worry about the width. And 1/3 the original dimension, so we need to multiply 29 by 1/3 to get the one of the reproduction. And this equals to 29 over 3. And that's our final answer. Question number 33. On PS above, PQ equals RS. What is the length of PS? It says that PQ equals RS. PQ is x minus 1. This equals RS, which is 3x minus 7. All we need to do is solve for x in this equation. So let's move the 3x to the left side to get negative 2x minus 1 equals negative 7. Add 1 to both sides. Negative 2x equals negative 6. And then we divide by negative 2 on both sides to get x equals 3. Now it's asking for the length of PS, which is this whole, the whole thing right there. If we look just in terms of x, PS is x minus 1 plus x plus 3x minus 7. When we combine the like terms, we get x plus 3x is 5x, negative 1 minus 7 is negative 8, So when we simplify, we get 5x minus 8. All we need to do is plug in 3 for x to get the length of PS. So 5 times 3 minus 8, which is 5 times 3 is 15, minus 8. 15 minus 8 is 7. And that's the length of PS. Question number 34. In the xy plane, the point 2,5 lies on the graph of the function f. If f of x equals k minus x squared, where k is a constant, what is the value of k? In this equation right here, we have the values for f of x, which is y, and x. These are simply the x coordinates and x coordinate and y coordinate that we're given. What we need to find out is the k. So all we have to do is plug in 2 for y and 5 for x and solve for k. So when we do that, we get 5 equals k minus 2 squared. And now when we do the 2 squared, we get 5 equals k minus 4. And then add 4 to both sides and we get k equals 9, which is our answer. Question number 35. A landscaper is designing a rectangular garden. The length of the garden is to be 5 feet longer than the width. If the area of the garden will be 104 square feet, what will be the length in feet of the garden? Second sentence says, the length of the garden is to be 5 feet longer than the width. If we translate this into an equation, it would be length is equal to width plus 5. And the width is just width. The area is calculated by multiplying the length times the width. Length times the width. And when we substitute w plus 5 into length, it would be area is equal to w plus 5 times w. The area, it says, is 104 square feet, so 104 is equal to w plus 5 times w. All we need to do is solve for w, so 104 is equal to w times w plus 5, which is w squared plus 5w. And we need to move the 104 to the other side. And when we do that, we get w squared plus 5w minus 104 is equal to 0. This looks like a tough problem, so let's just put it into the quadratic formula, which is negative b plus or minus b squared, square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. B is 5, so negative 5 plus or minus b squared, which is 5 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, c, which is negative 104, over 2 times a, which is 1. And all we need to do is plug it into the calculator. So I'm going to first do the square root. Square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 104. This is equal to 21, so negative 5 plus or minus 21 over 2 times 1, which is 2. And this splits into two different equations. So negative 5 plus 21 over 2 and negative 5 minus 21 over 2. So let's do this one right here first. Negative 5 plus 21 is 16 over 2. 16 over 2 is 8. And negative 5 minus 21 is negative 26 over 2. Negative 26 divided by 2 is negative 13. This right here is supposed to give us the width. Width can't be negative numbers, so negative 13 is wrong, and 8 is our width. Width equals 8. But the question is asking for what will be the length in feet of the garden. So length is w plus 5, and all we need to do is plug in 8 for w. And when we do that, we get 8 plus 5, and length is equal to 13. That's our final answer. Question number 36. Point P is the center of the circle in the figure above. What is the value of x? So what we need to do is find this angle right here, and we can do 360 minus whatever that angle is to find x. So this figure right here is four-sided, which means that the interior angles add up to 360. So we're given two angles, which are 20 plus 20, and then we're missing the angle right here and the angle that's opposite to x. So the one that's opposite to x is 360 minus x, so plus 360 minus x plus, and angle A is half of x, x over 2. This is a rule. The inscribed angle is always half of the angle that, the central angle that intercepts it. So this equals to 360. Let's combine like terms, and when we do that, we get 20 plus 20 plus 360 is 400. Negative x plus x over 2 is negative x over 2 is equal to 360. All we need to do here is solve for x. Negative x over 2 is equal to 360 minus 400. Negative x over 2 is equal to negative 40. We need to multiply both sides by negative 2 to get x. So x is equal to 80. The 80 is the angle right there, so that's our final answer. Question number 37. Let's first look at the information before reading the question. It says, Miss Simon drives her car from her home to her workplace every workday morning. The table above shows the distance in miles and her average driving speed in miles per hour when there's no traffic delay for each segment of her drive. The question says, one morning, Miss Simon drove directly from her home to her workplace in 24 minutes. What was her average speed in miles per hour during her drive that morning? What it gives us is 24 minutes, so we can put that at the bottom of the equation to get, and then we need to find the total distance she drove, which is 0.6 plus 15.4 plus 1.4. This adds up to 17.4. That's the total distance she had to drive in 24 minutes. When we do 17.4 divided by 24, we get the miles per minute. But what it's asking for is miles per hour. So we multiply 17.4 over 24 times 60, because there's 60 minutes in the hour. And when we put this into an equation, 17.4 divided by 24 times 60, we get 43.5. This is our answer, which is in miles per hour. Question number 38. If Miss Simon starts her drive at 6:30 a.m., she can drive at her average driving speed with no traffic delay for each segment of the drive. If she starts her drive at 7 a.m., the travel time from the freeway entrance to the freeway exit increases by 33% due to slower traffic, but the travel time for each of the other two segments of her drive does not change. Based on the table, how many more minutes does Miss Simon take to arrive at her workplace if she starts her drive at 7 a.m. than if she starts her drive at 6:30 a.m.? Round your answer to the nearest minute. So what it's asking for is to find the how much more time she takes if she starts at 7 a.m. compared to 6:30 a.m. And right here, the only difference between the 7 a.m. start time and 6:30 a.m. start time is the 33% increase in the time it takes from freeway entrance to freeway exit. Let's first find the time it takes from freeway entrance to freeway exit at 6:30 a.m. So 6:30. What we have to do is divide the distance by the rate, which is 50. 15.4 divided by 50. This will give us the time it took for her to travel that distance. So 15.4 divided by 50 is 0.308, which is in we have to multiply by 60 to get the actual minutes. So times 60 is 18.48. Okay, that's for 6:30. Now for 7, it says that the travel time from the freeway entrance to the freeway exit increases by 33%. So we have to multiply what we got here, which is 18.48 by 1.33. So 18.48 times 1.33. We get 24.58. That's the time it takes her when she starts at 7. These are the only two times that are different between the 6:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. So we can just calculate the first segment and third segment of her journey, and that will be the same for both the 6:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. start time. So let's go over here. We have to do the distance over the rate, which is 25 for both these. So 1.4 divided by 35 for this one. 0.6 divided by 25 is 0.024 times 60 to get the minutes. Is 1.44, and 14 divided by 35 is 0.4. 0.4 times 60 is equal to 24. So we have 24 and 1.44. The first two segments are the same for both 6:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. start time. So 24 plus 1.44, 25.44. That's the same for both 6:30 and 7. Now we just need to add 18.48 to find the time it takes to travel at 6:30, and 24.58 for the time it takes to travel at 7. So 25.44 plus 18.48 and 25.44 plus 24.58. So 25.44 plus 18.48 is equal to 43.92, and 25.44 plus 24.58 is equal to 50.02. Now it's asking for how many more minutes does Miss Simon take to arrive at her workplace if she starts her drive at 7 a.m. than if she starts at 6:30 a.m. So we need to find the difference between these two values right here. So 50.02 minus 43.92. And when we put that into the calculator, we get 6.1. That's our final answer.